Best of r/malicious compliance episode 72. Subscribe for edit videos daily. I broke this scenario down over an 8er, and was told to bring it over here cause it would fit in just swimmingly. I am currently 31 weeks pregnant and I work as a water filtration operator. Every 4 weeks, me and the other operators rotate onto the maintenance shift where we work under this particular supervisor. We'll call him Randy. Randy likes to think he has more control that he does have, and honestly, the plant supervisor just lets him think that. About a month or so ago, I was working with him and he told me to pick up a 45-pound empty nitrogen cylinder. I politely reminded him that I was pregnant and shouldn't be doing that, to which he responded, since I didn't have light-duty paperwork, it shouldn't be a problem. I sucked it up and lifted the cylinder and carried it to the destination, but received a pulled muscle in the process. The next day, I informed the plant supervisor and an work injury report was filed, and my statement was taken. The verbiage I used that was corroborated with another co-worker that was present caused Randy to get in trouble because he knew I was pregnant and essentially caused the injury to happen. They took me to a nurse to make sure that my baby was fine and that I was okay and was not experiencing any complications from the injury. I wasn't, other than being in pain if I moved too much. They sent me back on my way and the plant supervisor put me on desk duty for the day. Randy was livid, of course, because he lost some of his manpower on the maintenance team. He made a fuss about me not having light duty paperwork, saying that if I didn't have it then I should be capable of doing the work that is needed around the plant. I was capable, I just used common sense. Prior to this incident, I did my job to the fullest within the limitations of my body, which wasn't that much. I rested when I needed to, didn't lift more than my body would allow, and most importantly, I was the only female out of 7 employees, so my other co-workers were more than willing to help me if I asked, which wasn't that often. So the plant supervisor called me into his office and requested that I go get my light duty papers from the doctor ASAP. That's the only way he could protect me from getting further hurt at work. I told him I understood and made the call to the doctor's office and picked it up that afternoon. I got the paperwork that was supposed to keep Randy quiet and it restricted me as such. No stooping more than 2 times an hour. No climbing ladders or poles at all. No climbing more than 3 flights of stairs a shift. No lifting more than 25 pounds. No standing more than 30 minutes out of each hour. And limited contact with chemicals. These orders of course make it very difficult for me to do my job fully, as it basically limits me to either desk work or general cleaning. Now know this list is bullshit, because I can definitely stoop more than 2 times in an hour. I may be out of breath coming back up, but I can do it. And the climbing more than 3 flights of stairs is ridiculous because that means I can't do all of my rounds. Someone else has to do the last set for me because you climb a set of stairs every time. Under normal circumstances, I would be more than happy to bend the rules here to make everyone's lives easier. But honestly, since he's the one who bitched and moaned for me to get this paperwork, I plan to make full use of it. So far, since I've received this paperwork, I keep a checklist of all of the things I can't do and fill it like a bingo card. If I fill all of the things, to the office I go, because that means I can't do any more physical work on shift. And he has a bad habit of tossing a lot of work my way in the beginning of my shifts. Thank you. Next. TL. Doctor at the bottom. Background: this happens in Latin America, where schools don't give useful tools to pick a career, and most students just pick a major they have some affinity with and hope for the best. The most expensive colleges costs around $3,000 to $8,000 the semester, so the US costs and the concept of student loans doesn't exist here. I'm a psychologist and freelance as a vocational guide for students about to go to college. As far as I know, I am the only person in the whole city that provides this service. Some schools offer seminars to get into college, but nobody helps to know where and what to study. And, if I may be so bold, I'm good at it. I'm concise and thorough. I interview parents, analyze all the students' grades since grad school, calculate the family's college budget, apply 3 different personality and aptitude tests, explore life plan beyond college, ambitions outside of work, possible workplaces in the country and outside of it, salary ranges, best colleges depending on the major, scholarships, you name it. It's a personalized job. It takes 6 sessions and other 6 hours of research and test grading. I charge dirt cheap for it. about $100, and still most people think it's too expensive, so just middle upper class families hire me and recommend me by word of mouth. That's why I do such a detailed work. This last part will become important. The story. The client is a 17-year-old girl in her last year of high school. Let's call her Mary. We're in January. Mary graduates in May-June. She has good grades, and one plan: go to Harvard, study medicine. The parents were on board, and I smelled danger, so in the first session I asked if anyone had made any research about admissions to Harvard. No. I then asked about a plan B, another college options. None. Harvard. I asked why Harvard. Because of its reputation. Sigh. Fine. My method works this way. First discover what the family expects from and can offer to Mary. Then discover what Mary wants, is and has. Trigger a small existential crisis so she may discover her priorities and calling. And then pick a couple of possible majors that work with what she wants to do. To afterwards pick the best and most affordable colleges. As I interview the parents and work with Mary through the sessions, I see that she has aptitude for medicine, a lot of artistic and physical skills, and is indeed smart and capable, and the family could afford any private college in the country, and she could graduate with not much economic troubles. After 4 sessions she has already found her calling, picked possible majors. Now it's time to pick a college, and she still only knows Harvard. I try to dive deep into that, but there is no depth. She just knows Harvard is the greatest college in the world, so she wants to go there. If a client asks me to investigate a college, I'll do it, be it national or international. She is the first to ask for Harvard, so I did a quick research that tells me it's practically impossible, and that it will take me extra hours from what it usually takes me, so I ask again, are you sure your first choice is Harvard? Even though millions of people apply every year, the sheer cost of travel, food, housing, etc. is very steep, and you have less than 4 months to apply. Because if it's true, I'll research it, but you will sit and hear all of it. Yes, she is sure. Oh, but maybe the University of Cambridge as a second option. Fine. Cue malicious compliance. I did all the math. Housing, food, travel, textbooks, all. I also researched the whole 8-step process to get into Harvard as a foreigner. Spoiler alert, it's a pain in the ass. Hell, the date for the first 3 steps already had passed and she didn't have what it took to satisfy the other requisites. I researched scholarships, price of organs, this will come handy later, and everything of the 2 colleges. On top of that, I also do my dues and research the national options for medicine and her other choices. It took me an extra 3 hours to do so, but I'm a professional, and quality gets me the next job. The day of the session arrives, and I present to her all the national colleges, pros, cons, prices, location, mission, vision, student profile, prizes and certifications, etc. She seems convinced in applying to a handful of them. Now we get to Harvard and Cambridge. First, I drop the price of medicine in Harvard. Her giddiness disappears as she counts the zeros, and just gives up. Oh no, young lady, you wanted to know about Harvard. You are gonna learn about Harvard. I drop number after number. How much it would cost with the best possible scholarship. Let's add the cheapest rent, the cheapest food. Let's ignore textbooks. All in all, still can't afford a year. Let's multiply that for 4 years. Let's see how much it would cost if you take out some loans. In short, everyone in her family had to sell a kidney or 2 for the whole process, even in the best case scenario. She dismisses Harvard, and doesn't want to know about Cambridge anymore. Oh number, not done. Now I explain, step by step, all that she has to do to get into Harvard in the first place. The tests, the essays, the SATs, the extracurricular activities and achievements. The test in our country already passed. She would have to fly to the USA in a week to take the test she hasn't prepared for. And its cost is added to the kidney budget. And then I add the statistics. I show her Harvard's official application statistics. How many apply to medicine, how many pass the test, how many get in, how many graduate, and then Cambridge. After about an hour of me explaining and dropping paper after paper, I conclude with this. If you want to get into Harvard, you have to start getting extracurricular credits since 5 years ago. Work 2 jobs since 3 years ago and have perfect scores in school since 2 years ago. Harvard is like the Olympics. You don't wake up one day and decide you wanna go. You work your whole life to maybe have the chance to be there. I even gave her the option of taking Harvard as a foreign exchange program from some of the other colleges, or taking a mastery degree there, to not act like it's just impossible. At the end, she did the sensible thing and picked a viable option, and good for her. Just learn that if you are gonna make me waste my time in a near impossible option, I'm gonna make you sit and listen through all of it even if you give up at the first step. TLDR. Girl with no logistical, economical, academical nor geographical way of getting into Harvard or Cambridge in 4 months wants to know all the steps to get there, so she gets an 1-hour lecture of all the steps, even though she gave up on step 1. Thank you. Next. So, not that long or interesting, but definitely funny enough to post here. I work at an elite school, and I mean elite to the level of being the place many actors, politicians and business people decided to put their children. It costs at least $40,000 $00 a year, with many resources like a makerspace, interactive boards, an iPad by children and some of the best teachers in the city. I'm an assistant to one of the reference head teachers in lower school, so I saw this happen very closely. My school doesn't have a teacher's lounge, and usually the teachers would only interact during the 15 minutes break or during lunch at the teacher's cafeteria. Since I started there things were like this, and no one had an issue with it until last week, when we received a message from HR that made everyone extremely angry. Only the specialist teachers and administrative employees are allowed to stay at the teacher's cafeteria during the morning break. Assistants and class teachers are only to have their snack with their students and can grab their coffee in the break room from the janitorial staff. So, that means that out of nowhere, we not only lose one more space where we can rest from the classroom madness, but also we have to basically occupy a space that isn't ours. Janitorial staff also doesn't have a lot of space to rest, so it would suck for everyone just to have coffee. Their justification was that since the teacher's staff doubled in size since last year, we needed to stop occupying so much the cafeteria because it was getting too busy and people were taking too long on their breaks because of that. As far as people knew, nobody made that complaint and it was taken out of HR's ass. People were visibly angry, but nobody talked about anything until that's when the most amazing silent malicious compliance happened for the entire teaching staff. We just grabbed our coffee and sat on the corridor in front of the teacher's cafeteria. Now imagine, just imagine, about 35/40 teachers sitting on the floor, everyone with coffee, bread and butter having their break like nothing happened. People would just stop by, see what was happening and joining. Eventually, we slowly would just start again going inside the teacher's cafeteria and ignoring the HR's orders. What made them go back on what they said and allowing everyone to use the cafeteria normally. But the most impressive thing is that no one talked to each other, we just started doing the malicious compliance together like we already knew how to deal with this. Thank you. Next. I work at a club store in freezer/fridge stocker at night. One of my team leaders/managers keeps complaining about my items that not line up to line when I leave. So today I got tired of it, so I told him to give me his phone number so I can send pictures at end of night showing all items lined up to red line. So end of night I had all lined up and began to picture every shelf with items to red line. Well, I did not even get through all items to be pictured. He sent message of defeat saying he's seen enough and to just keep doing. Thank you. Next. My wife has a small store for used furniture and knickknacks, and occasionally brings new inventory into the house prior to taking it to the store or putting it in the basement. The other day, we had the cleaners coming in the afternoon and she said as she left on some errands, could you please get this stuff out of the house so they can clean? I was not particularly thrilled with the prospect of moving a pile of stuff downstairs, minimum 10 trips. I took it out the front door and piled it in the driveway. It was a sunny day, and I could get it to the basement whenever I felt like it, like later in the day. Got the room empty, cleaners came, and when she returned, driveway full. She had to park in the street, because she never specified having to put it away, just get it out of the room. P.S. The basement has an outside door, no way to get there from inside the house. Thank you. Next. This is Beans, but it was suggested at ATA. Background. I work part-time at a home improvement store, in a department closest to the doors, the checkout and the cashiers who run the registers. Like any employees of a retail store, we have to deal with go-backs and returns. The cashiers have to deal with it because customers change their minds and decide they don't want a product, or they realize that they don't have the money and leave products at the register. There, the items are put into a bin or a cart and taken to customer service later, where the proper department associate will pick them up and put them back in their spots. This is where, as an associate, I have to deal with go-backs and returns. A lot of my job is to go to customer service, pick stuff up and place it back on the shelves. Occasionally, since my department is so close to the registers, the cashiers just holler at me to take the items from them directly, so that they don't have to go to all the way to customer service, because of what a laborious, ungodly chore that is. It should also be noted that it's usually the older cashier women who holler for my valet assistance, despite the fact that I'm also an older woman. How older doesn't matter, shut up. That's fine, I had no problem with that. 'Cause I'm just not lazy like that. I understand that that's what's convenient for them, even though that's not exactly proper procedure. Meanwhile, occasionally when I pick up returns from customer service, I discover that there is an incorrectly sorted item in my go-backs. That there's a product that doesn't belong in my department and should be taken back to customer service. Yes, I try to check the returns before I leave customer service, but shit happens. As well as, I'll find products that the customers have brought in from other areas and dumped in my department. So sometimes, if it's just one thing, I'll go to the registers and put the product into their go-back bin or cart, since it's all going to customer service anyway, and that's what's convenient for me, even though that's not exactly proper procedure. So, suddenly now, some cashiers are complaining that I'm violating the rules by putting a few products into their go-back carts. I've gotten politely lectured that I should go all the way back to customer service with every item, every time, despite the fact that their carts are headed there anyway. ? That's just too much to ask, apparently. In fact, it isn't even the old cashier women who'll push the go-back carts to customer service. They'll usually delegate that to a younger person. It's just the principle of the thing. I'm invading their work safe space. Me, I do all my own cart stunts. But they're complaining anyway. Okay, after a pause for incredulity and exasperation at the complete Karen-ness of it all, I said I would follow the rules and spare their space, but since we're strictly following departmental procedure now, I also said that I would not accept returned items directly from the cashiers. I thought we were doing each other a favor, I said, but if you don't want to do that, that's fine. They will have to take the products to customer service as per protocol, where I would then gather them properly, as with all the other go-backs, not just theirs. This, they bitched about even more. Seems that's how they've always done it, and how dare I expect them to follow their own requirements? These cashier Karens continue to complain that I should know and follow the rules, which they don't, while I continue to say that I will, but in accordance with said rules, I will not be accepting go-backs from any other department than customer service. Heads exploding in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Next. Another day, another idiot customer. So I noticed an elderly man in one of our electronic scooters was having trouble moving. Turns out the battery was dead. Being the helpful employee I am, and wanting to kill some time, I go and get a new one. I drive up next to him with the new one and move his groceries over. The elderly gentleman thanked me and I take the other scooter off to be recharged. Problem is, I'm having to sit in it and move it using the Flintstones method, practically rowing it to the front using my legs as oars. On my way back I encountered an entitled mother and her rather large entitled son. What do you think you're doing? Employees shouldn't be goofing off on those scooters. They're for customers who need them. I politely reply, sorry but I'm bringing gets cut off. I don't care what excuses you have. Let my son use that scooter. He has been struggling to walk and he needs it, and yes, she did emphasize need. Mom, the battery in this scooter I cut off again. Don't make me get you a manager now. Give my boy your scooter. I oblige maliciously. He tries to move it. It moves for about 3 seconds then dies. He turns it off and on again, another 2 seconds then out. I must admit I was smirking about how stupid he looked and might have chuckled a bit. Moom. "This scooter's broken, make him get me a new one," the entitled brat bellowed. I shrug and say, "That's the last one. I was trying to bring it in to be recharged but you wanted it." The entitled mother snatches her son and power walks off mumbling something under her breath. I drop off the scooter and plug it in. So far I haven't been yelled at by management. If anything happens I'll update, but so far I don't think she's really going to do anything.